Welcome to the module on quality management system. Today we will be discussing about the importance of ITP checklist and formats in order to ensure that the quality assurance plan is effectively implemented in the project. So to start with, what is quality? Quality is the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bear upon its ability to satisfy the stated or the implied needs. The other definitions of quality is a degree to which a set of inherent characters, that is natural and permanent characters, fulfills the requirement. So requirement of the user related to quality and service life of structures are specified in the contract specifications are given to you in order to maintain the quality of the required input. For example, if you say I need some water to drink, the quality of the water is predefined. It is the inherent quality of the water that when it is being asked for drinking, that it should be suitable for drinking and it should be free of any impurities whatsoever. So this is what is the set of characteristics which are inherent in nature. But instead of supplying a pure water, if you have been supplied with a turbid water, a polluted water which contains a lot of pollutants in it, then that means what is required is not being met. And if there is a difference between the required and the supplied material, then we can say that the quality of the material is not good. So, and this stands fit, or this stands good for all activities, all stages, and all aspects of life, whether it is purchasing a shirt, whether it is getting a ride, or whether it is making a telephone call, or whatever it is, whatever is being expected or implied needs. And if your product is varying from the expectations, that means the quality is not good. What is quality assurance? Quality assurance plan is a document constructed by the project team meant to ensure the final product are of the utmost quality. Quality assurance plan contains a set of documents, activities meant to ensure that customers are satisfied with the goods or services the company provides. Today we will be discussing about the inspection and test plan. Inspection and test plans are basically divided into three categories. One is for incoming materials or the receiving materials. Then the in-process material activity process activities as well as materials, and then ITP for final activities. Like for example, if you see the ITP for receiving materials like cement, the ITP is divided into different criteria, like you should know the activity for which you should know the material part, you should know the acceptance criteria for that particular material. Like for example, if it is cement, and when we are talking about the grade and week of the cement should be greater than or equal to the required grade or date of manufacturing should be less than 3 months, because if it is more than 3 months, then you need to be retested before it is being used. The reference standard which one has to comply is IS standard only. Now this 8112 is specific to a particular grade of concrete previously, which is now converted into a uniform code of IS 269 as per the latest version. The sampling plan can be defined as a minimum 2% or 5 bags, whichever is greater. It is not there in the standards, but it is up to the mutual consent of the individuals and the clients or the consultants. Then the frequency, one needs to understand like at what frequency you want to check the grade and week of the cement. In this particular case, it is for every consignment. Then who is going to do that inspection? The contractor and the client. What is the roles and responsibilities? When we say W, that means it is when we say W, it is witness, and when we say R, it is meaning is review for MTC. And the testing agencies, in this particular case, it is only a visual observation, so you can write visual observation. Similarly, when it is about the standard consistency test, then you need to state that 1 in 5 in every 250 or minimum 2% of the material to be sampled for testing. Each batch needs to be tested, and then it can be tested in either the site laboratories or the external laboratory if the site laboratory is not capable enough to conduct these tests. Now, coming to the in-process test, like in process, you have a concrete activity which is to be written in ITP form. Now, in that particular case, the compressive strength testing is one activity which one needs to check. So, the acceptance criteria is given as individual variations should not be more than plus minus 15% of the average, and also it should meet the acceptance criteria of IS 456, which is based on the standard deviation of the individuals, that is FCK plus 3 for particular grade of concrete and FCK plus 4 for other grades of concrete. That one can go in detail because these are the things which generally changes. And the reference standard written here is IS 456. The sampling plan can be a random sampling, and then the frequency in which it needs to be tested is one sample for 1 to 5 cubic meters of concrete, two samples for 6 to 15 cubic meters of concrete, three samples for 16 to 30 cubic meters of concrete, four samples for 31 to 50 cubic meters of concrete, and above four samples for each one sample. You need to have, for each 50 cubic meters, you need to have one sample in place. And when we say sample, it is basically 3 cubes which are being used to test for 28 days compressive strength. So apart from 28 days, if you need some more cubes to be tested at 14 days, 7 days, 3 days or 1 day, then as per the requirement you can cast additional cubes. But the frequency which is given in IS 456 is specific to the 28 days compressive strength only. And then you must know who is going to be testing the cubes, whether it is in-house or you want to get these things tested from the third party, and then what record you are going to maintain and who is responsible for maintaining those records. So this is how the ITP for in-process activities are being maintained. And then coming to the final process of ITPs, like considering the same concrete activity, if you see the ITP for the final process or the final product should be a visual inspection and post-pour inspections, which will give you the results in terms of defects or smooth finish. If there is a defect can be defined in terms of, say, defect can be honeycombing, a defect can be a crack, defect can be spalling. So all those defects can be elaborated in the description or activity list, and then the corresponding acceptance criteria needs to be defined with a reference code, and then the frequency of the test, like all in this case, if a beam is cast or if a column is cast, all the exposed surface needs to be inspected. The inspection has to be visual inspection, and the concrete repair, if it is there has to be a proper methodology to repair the concrete, and those repairs needs to be recorded in the concrete repair report. And then finally, in the extreme right corner, you must show who is responsible for doing this activity, who is responsible for maintaining the record, and who is responsible for finally approving the methods or the action which is being taken in the process. So this is how ITP can be formally maintained in 3 stages, like incoming stage, in process stage, and then the final stage. Coming to the checklist, like for each and every activity, we should be developing a checklist which will indicate what are the checks one has to perform when actually conducting that particular activity. For example, if you see the checklist for reinforcement, The moment you perform an activity related to reinforcement, this is a checklist one has to fulfill. Like you need to put the details of the project, the details about the contractor, the report number, the reference drawing number, the data and time of inspections, and then under the description, if you see, barricading provided to the required degree of satisfaction. The first point one has to check. Wrong working drawings checked and approved. If it is checked and approved, you can say yes, it is checked and approved, and you can give your reference drawing number in the remark column. Latest revision is being used. You need to confirm whether the latest revisions are being used. BBS or bar bending schedule is approved for that particular activity. Whether the reinforcement material is used in the project is approved, and the approved material is only being used in the project. BBS and cutting done as per the BBS, one has to ensure. If it is yes, you can tick mark yes and then attach the copy of the BBS. Bar sizes are correct as per the BBS. Bar spacings are correct as per the BBS. Bar lap lengths are correct as per the BBS. So whenever we say BBS, it means bar bending schedule. Bars tied as per the specifications given, and bar assemblies rigid and adequately supported, including the spaces and chairs. Cover to the bottom bars are correct, cover to the side bars are correct, cover to the top bars are correct, and cover blocks approved, including the fixing. So this is how one has to understand that for a particular activity, what are the different types of checks involved, like conversion of reinforcement, if any, as per the structural consultant. Like for example, if you have a 12 reinforcement to be placed at that particular point, and because of the absence of 12 you are using 16 then the number of bars can be reduced, and the reduced effect of bars can be recorded in the checklist forms. Whether the tying of conduit is properly done. If there is a conduit, you must ensure that the tying of the conduit is properly done, and if it is not applicable, you can always tick not applicable. Whether the effective depth of negative reinforcement is checked, whether the column reinforcements tied properly and positioned, and whether the reinforcements used is free from foreign licenses. So these a set of 20 questions generally we have taken. It can be less, it can be more, but this is an exhaustive list. One can have to check the reinforcement, the specifications, requirement, and the accuracy as far as the reinforcement tying is concerned. Similarly, for testing, recording, and maintaining the reports, different test formats are also developed. For each type of test, you need to develop a testing format. Like for example, if you want to do a grading analysis, you should have the test format associated with that, so that you can record the outcome of the grading. The flakiness and elongation index, if you want to check, you should have the corresponding testing formats available with you, so that you can record the results in the test format. The Los Angeles abrasion value test or the aggregate impact value test. So if you see the maximum dry density, let us examine what are the details one has to compare as far as the testing format is concerned. So in this particular SEEVS number 109, which is basically Los Angeles abrasion, or we can say you should have the maximum dry density and the optimum moisture content formula. Now what is required is you can collect the details of the project. You should write down the details of the contractor, the description of the soil, the standard which is being used to test the soil, that is IS 2720 part 8, date of sampling, date of testing, source of sample, sampled by, lab reference number, and the sample locations. After getting the preliminary data, what is being done is you have to divide the samples into number of samples, like sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, and sample 5. In this particular case, you have been given 5 columns to divide your sample in 5 types, and then for each sample you need to add water and test it, and the corresponding readings you need to record it in this particular format, like what is the percentage added in terms of percentage, in terms of milliliters of water, the mole number, the mole volume, mass of the mole per wet samples, and so on. And then the second part is being used to determine the moisture content of the sample. Now you get the moisture content. After that, you know the wet density, you know the moisture content, so you will be able to get the dry density. In this format also you have attached the graph, so that automatically you can get the graph also stating what is your maximum dry density and the corresponding moisture content, which is basically the optimum moisture content. So in this fashion, for each and every test, you need to record the results and report it in a standard format for ensuring that yes, the tests are being carried out and it is in line with the requirements given in the specifications. To summarize this module, we talked about the definition of QA, we talked about definition of QC, we talked about the importance of ITP, checklist, and test formats, what is their significance and how important they are in order to make sure that your QA implementation is effective in the project. In the next module, we will be covering some more myths about the documentation on qualities. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening.